Hola, Santiago. Buenos días. And thus concludes all of my knowledge of Spanish. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute treat. I'm visiting you from Chicago, Illinois, where we have 1 meter of snow in my car park. And so it's exciting to be here both with you for discussing the future, but also for escaping the winter. Now, my discussion today with you is a lot of content in a little time. It's an idea called humans after all, and here's where it starts. Have any of you in university or even secondary school studied anthropology? Okay, one. I studied anthropology. People say, why on earth would a futurist study anthropology? Well, 2 reasons. One, the study of human cultures and archaeology and the history of humanity is a very good place for guys like me when I was young who had long hair. And also, it was a place to meet a beautiful woman who would become my wife who had the exact same haircut. Yeah, and I mean it. We had the exact same haircut. But that's not important right now. What's important? What's important is I learned more about the future of technology in anthropology than I ever did from any of my engineering classes or technical projects, inventing, investing, Deloitte, etc. This was my first anthropology professor. He was an archaeologist named Jim Bellis, and he blew my mind. In 1996, he said, you know, technology is just a fancy 4-syllable synonym for tool. And he said, we humans have been tool builders for 3 million years. The first humans, Homo habilis, sharpened stones to make knives. Why? To save time. It was a hack. It was a trick to free precious human time for higher order pursuits. Like what? Well, like reading, writing, storytelling, using our big brains. The first written language 3,000 years ago, the Sumerians, that was a tool. A tool to keep us from repeating ourselves over and over and over. Then the printing press 600 years ago, a tool to keep us from having to say the same story over and over and over. Here's my book. Well, what's interesting is we think this is old stuff. But let's jump ahead. Let's jump ahead 600 years and listen to somebody who knows what he's talking about. Oh, can we get the audio on that? It's okay. I'll tell you the story. Steve Jobs is saying in this story...
Did they expand to get from point A to point B? And
let me go ahead and restart.
I remember reading an article when I was about 12 years old, I think it might have been in Scientific American, where they measured the efficiency of locomotion for all these species on planet Earth. How many kilocalories did they expend to get from point A to point B? And the condor one came in at the top of the list, surpassed everything else, and humans came in about 1/3 of the way down the list, which was not such a great showing for the crown of creation. And but somebody there had the imagination to test the efficiency of a human riding a bicycle. Human riding a bicycle blew away the condor, all the way off the top of the list. And it made a really big impression on me that we humans are tool builders, and that we can fashion tools that amplify these inherent abilities that we have to spectacular magnitudes. And so for me, a computer has always been a bicycle of the mind, something that takes us far beyond our inherent abilities. And I think we're just at the early stages of this tool.
I get goosebumps. Yeah, every time I see that. Why? Because here's where we begin to talk about the future. Folks, if a computer was the bicycle for the mind, then the World Wide Web was the motorcycle for the mind, and AI is a rocket ship for the mind. But the point is, you still need a mind. People matter in an age of intelligent machines. We think of human evolution as this. But I'm here to tell you it's always been more like this. The machines are not coming, they've been here from the beginning of the movie. And my Deloitte team and I, we did first principles research in partnership with the World Economic Forum to prove, at the time, 4 years ago, a somewhat revolutionary thesis that the entire history of information technology, certainly the subset of it that has saved or made organizations, nations, or families money, has been a shockingly straightforward series of evolutions, not random buzzword revolutions, and that they followed these 3 tracks. Human interaction with computers has only ever gotten simpler, from PhDs using punch cards to people going to night school to learn Lotus 1, 2, 3. To me, I learned computers with a business classic called Windows 95 for Dummies. Right? To a young woman on my team who said, I can't imagine a modern technology needing so much as a book to explain how to use it. The point is, technology now learns us. We do not learn tech, because simple always wins. Simplicity is the key to human-computer interaction. How many of you saw Apple release the Apple Vision Pro last year? How many of you bought this? Wow. Okay. Most people did not. And it wasn't because it was a dud. It was because it's a gateway to a simpler future where you go from big, crazy headsets to small, decent glasses, to smaller, better glasses, to maybe contact lenses, to maybe something like this, which paints pixels wherever you need them. Now, if you say, oh, I don't know if I want to live in a world like that, I'm here to tell you, our kids are going to look at us like we're crazy because we carry so many rectangles around. I call them weapons of mass distraction. How many of y'all have one phone on you right now? How many of you have 2 for work and home? I call it church and state. The idea is this: simple always wins. And spatial computing doesn't win because it's fancy, it wins because it promises something simpler. Now, on the compute side, stronger always wins. Right? For 3 years ago, it felt like Bitcoin and blockchain were all the rage, and then for the last 18 months, it felt like, oh, remember that thing? That didn't work. And then here it comes roaring back. Why? Because it turns out that none of us is as trustworthy as all of us, and if you're fighting a modern-day deep fake, right, you can either count on watermarks or basic tech like that, or you can do what a Scandinavian journalist did and use blockchain-based tech to ensure the authenticity of a picture from the camera all the way to the page. Can I trust that that's not fake news? Yeah, you can, because it's been cryptographically proven by a galactic internet supercomputer called the blockchain. But let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla. Let's talk about the big story that's been on everybody's mind. How many of y'all talk about artificial intelligence about once a week, maybe at work, at school, in life? How many of you talk about it like once a day? Who's secretly tired of AI? Yeah, me too. But here's the scoop. AI isn't new. AI is whatever the heck computers haven't done yet. In 1996, it was beating Kasparov at chess. In 2011, it was beating Ken Jennings at Jeopardy. In 2017, it was beating Lee Sedol at Go. AI isn't new, but there's always something new in AI. And I think the story that we should be focused on is the automation of cognition, digital discernment, and decision-making. I'll give you an example. One of my clients is in Denmark. You can probably figure it out from the picture. Their CTO tells me, we found this tool which will scan every brick in your pile and show you every toy you can make. I'm like, what now? He goes, yeah, it scans every brick and tells you every toy. And with my like technology innovation patent hat on, I'm like, well, is this an intellectual property problem? Are you going to lawyer up? He goes, no, we love it. I said, why do you love it? He says, have you ever sat down to play Lego with your kids? How many of you guys have kids or have ever been a kid? That's good. Check it. When you sit down to play Lego, this is my son Bennett, you think you're there to build cool stuff. In truth, you're there to make memories. That's the point. You get there by building cool stuff together. The problem is these tiny little pieces. You're hunting, you're pecking, you're finding, you're failing, and then you just go have a drink. Well, what we got to talking about was the time spent on the muck steals time from the magic. This is why so many sets go unbuilt. Well, think of this. That memory making stands on the shoulders of all sorts of externalities. Somebody's got to make the bricks. Somebody's got to drill the oil that goes into the plastic that makes the bricks. But we don't think about that because it's below the not my problem line. And here comes AI raising the not my problem line, so we have to spend less time on yuck and more time on yay. Now, if this feels a little poetic, I was with one of the largest banks in the United States, and their CEO says to me, this is New York City, he goes, listen, our North Star isn't nearly as poetic as making memories, because we're making money. But the less time we have to spend on admin is more time we can spend on differentiation. And so if you can do what you did by moving our technology to the cloud and our software to the cloud with this AI business, then we're in business. And that's when it hit me that the story of AI is about the waterline raising so that we can focus on back to anthropology, higher order pursuits. But gang, that's not even the half of it because we haven't talked about Jet AI. I showed a client in Texas a transformer tool in 2019. I said, this thing will write any poem you want. He goes, son, we make hydraulic lifts. We do not make poems. Well, 4 years later, you put a chat box in front of the same basic math and you say, check it out. Can I get 5 10-year strategies for Chile to become a recognized world leader in tech across 3 dimensions? And I did this on the plane, and I'm not pretending it's rocket science, but the fact that I don't know nothing about nothing and could get something about something that quickly, and then say, draw number 1 for me in the style of a famous Chilean visual artist, and dig up this thing, which somebody told me looks nothing like the work of Roberto Mata. Somebody else said, it's pretty good. But the thing is this, it's not better than the best of us, but it's merely very useful. And I think that's the standard here. The waterline raises a little more so that we can elevate still more. Every time you automate, you're gonna have to elevate. And that's not a 2025 story, that's a 2.5 million year human story. One of the big things that we talk about in our work is that humans are going to matter more, not less, in an age of tech. I had a group of executives together. I said, guys, this is called an image diffusion model. It'll paint any picture you want. What do you executives want to see? And these 10 dudes, and tragically all dudes, they go, because they hadn't had to think anything imaginative in their life. This one guy goes, paint me a sunset. Well, behold, the world's least interesting generative AI sunset. Just when they're writing the tool off, his chief of staff, this young woman, 10 years younger, she comes in, she goes, can I try? By all means. She goes, I want to see potato chips versus pretzels in a fight. That's not the half of it. Potato chips get nunchucks, pretzels get squirt guns, whole flipping things on the planet Mars. Well, just as we're all wondering about her, termination papers, behold, the digital Donatello, the modern day Michelangelo. Now here's the tagline, here's the punchline. These boring old executives start clapping. They're celebrating the stuff. Even Sunset Guy goes, I do believe this thing has the power to change our business trajectory for the better. I'm like, bro, celebrate her. She's the one who had the courage, the curiosity, the moxie to ask for such a thing. Because, team, it's worse than garbage in, garbage out. That's the old way. The new problem is garbage in, garbage squared. But good news, it can be genius in genius squared. You give it good, you get great. Tony Stark was a genius billionaire playboy. Pretty cool. Iron Man was a genius billionaire playboy who could fly and shoot laser beams out of his hands. Super cool. We can be bettered by these tools if we realize that it's about us, not the tools. Use these tools mindfully, you'll take good to great. Eventually, you'll take great to something that Arthur C. Clarke said was indistinguishable from magic. You use this stuff as a mustache-twisting villain, you could do bad to worse. You could take worse to extinction. It's not either or. Gang, both are true. And it's up to us as leaders to make sure we're in the green. Now, team, with 1 minute and 3 seconds to go, I will tell you, people ask me, they go, what is our purpose as humans? What in the heck are we going to do when the robots are as good or better at so many of the things we do? And I found this comic, which I love. It says, Buddha, what makes us human? And he says, selecting the pictures with the traffic lights. That's not a good answer. You know, like the password thing, like, are you human? I don't know, robot, are you human? Here's the thing. 3 things that make us us, briefly. Number 1, ingenuity. Creativity matters. Potato chip pretzel lady mattered in 1995. She matters in 2035. Albert Einstein was a middle-of-the-road IQ on the Manhattan Project. But he was Albert Einstein not because of his IQ, it was because of his curiosity, his creativity, his potato chip pretzel capacity. Empathy, understanding humans. Who better than humans to understand humans, right? My son is working on relationships and trust and rapport and handshakes because that's what matters most in a world of intelligent machines. And finally, initiative. I asked an LLM, hey, robot, what is initiative? It said, initiative is being able to start something without being prompted. I said, hey, buddy, you're all about needing to be prompted. Does that mean we humans are better than you at this one thing? And it's the closest I'll ever get to a jealous robot. He says, yeah, I guess you guys are better at that whole self-starter thing. So team, in conclusion, and for those tracking the clock, I'm just about done. It's about ingenuity, empathy, initiative, creating new ways to help each other without being asked. That's the person you hired 30 years ago. That's the person you hire 30 years from now. I ran this by my mom. I said, Mom, I've got this idea for a theory of what makes us us. This was about 3 months before she passed away last year. And I said, it's initiative, empathy, and ingenuity. And she says, why you got to make it so damn complicated? And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I could have told you this for the last 60 years. It's the Wizard of Oz, dummy. And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, well, it's brains, heart, and courage. Folks, my concluding thought for you at Congreso Futuro, listen to your mother. Thank you so much for your time. Muchas gracias.